But how to find that path? And how to stick to that path and stay on the path and experience it all the way in day-to-day interaction. You need guidance. You need support from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need your eyes to be open to the pitfalls around the way. You need warner in your heart and in your environment, warning you from getting off the straight path, because if you get off the way, you may go astray and then you die out, like someone getting out of the road in the desert, thinking, I can go use 100 meters. Okay, but then you drive 200 meters, and then you lose the orientation, then you start driving in circle, and then you die of thirst. And they find you only 1 mile away from the asphalted road, but you couldn't find the asphalted road. Only your dead body is there left. Like many people who have died of thirst in the desert. Not far away from the main road. But they just got disoriented, they lost the direction, they don't know where they are. Because they went off the straight path, the asphalted road, and they felt that it is okay to go there, I can't come back. It's a mistake. Smallest mistake. You lose your compass or you lose your satellite nav, sat nav, the battery is flat, you're done. No, can't find a way. They're finished. So the best way is to get to from point A to B is to stay on the straight path. Don't get out of the straight path. I can do an experiment and come back. Don't trust your judgment and ability. So the best to stick on the straight path and continuously stay on the straight path. And for that you need help and support from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the most important thing is to ask for that. Ihdina Surat-ul-Mustaqim. Guide us to straight path. Straight path from where? From this life, from this situation we are now, into that what pleases Allah, into paradise, into divine pleasure, into eternal happiness, all of them are into forgiveness and pardon. The same, all of them are equivalent terms. One necessitates the other one, and there's one path leading. Any other path will not lead. And all the way, in everyday interaction, there will be choices to be made, and some choices will be the wrong choices. Some will be deadly, some are less deadly, but the situation is so that you have to make choices, and for every choice you may choose the right one and the wrong one, relative to that path, to Allah for you, forgiveness and divine mercy. That's the one which you are asking Allah to give you guidance to it. Ihdina Surat-ul-Mustaqim. And before that, I jumped Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. Before that, sorry.
I'm just about to ask.
Yeah. Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. I jumped that. They were quickly going to the paradise. So after that, the slave affirms a position after mentioning these issues of creed purely. This one is divided between the slave and Allah. Allah comments on that. This is half between me and half for me and half for my slave, and for my slave what he asks for. That's Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. You assert that you alone we worship. And worship here is not like misunderstood usually, that we do the acts of, they call acts of ibadah mistakenly, the so-called rites, salah, zakah, siyam, hajj. No, meaning Iyaka na'budu, you alone we submit to and obey. That's the meaning of it. Not that we do salah, not that we perform hajj. That's not ibadah. The ibadah is obeying the command to do that. In this Sharia, he ordered you, for example, this family Sharia, to perform Hajj if you are able once in a lifetime. It's a certain right. The ibadah is obedience to the command. That's the ibadah. The right itself is just certain acts which have been prescribed in a certain way, to be done in a certain way. That's it. Because every act you are supposed to do will have certain way of performance and certain structure. Because you are a material being with body and so on. Certain things require from you to travel to a certain place. Certain things do not require you to do. Require you to do certain body movements. Certain things require you to take from your wallet certain money and give it a certain way. All of these are acts. Everyone has its own structure, its own merits and reasons, and some of them without reason, just purely to test your obedience and so on. The real ibadah in the act is not the Hajj itself. The obedience to the command, the Hajj is the real ibadah. That's what makes you say that you're obeying the command. Evidence? In previous Sharia, there was no Hajj to Makkah. Doesn't mean they were not obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were not abid, they were abid. They were abid. There's a narration that all prophets made Hajj to Makkah. It may have been obligation to the prophets, but their nations we know by Tawatur that they were not even aware of the existence of Makkah. So it was maybe an obligation of the prophets by themselves, as single persons, just for themselves. But for the nations have many great abid and many great pious peoples, and none of them have seen Makkah in his life. Because the Hajj was not enacted. They were not aware about something called Hajj in the first place. Yeah. Other nations may have another type of fasting. We don't know if their fasting is exactly like ours. We don't know. Yeah, you know, the Christians have now a fasting, which is fasting from land animals and from certain foods, but not they eat fish and so on. I don't know if that's a bid'ah or it's the original fasting like that. But independent of that, assume it's not a bid'ah. That's their fasting. It's different from our fasting. Completely different, isn't it? Yeah, but it's fasting. And this assume it's not a bid'ah invention by the scholars. It's really the one enacted by Isa. The one who do it to obey in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are they not obedient? Are they not doing ibadah? They are doing, because they are obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or the structure is different than our fasting. So the structure and the act itself is not very important. What's important is the obedience to the command. You know this is the command, Allah ta'ala, or based on evidence, obviously. You may be mistaken, but this is ijtihad. Leave that. Let's assume that that's very clear, that this is the command. There's no doubt, there's no ijtihad. And you comply with it. That's the ibadah. The compliance, the submission, not the act itself. The act itself is just a token, just a representation in which you show the obedience, the willing to submit. Yeah? Was Iblis abid when he did not make sujood to Adam? Was that a salah? No. Was it a zakat? No. Was it hajj? No. Was it siyam? No. What was it? Just a pure command. To honor Adam? Yes. What the first honor Adam, non honor Adam? What the Prophet said? Make sujood to this tree. I like this tree. I order you to make sujood. Allah ordered them to make a sujood to honor a certain tree. Could they say no? No. Even a pile of stones. Could they say no? No, they couldn't. It's just a token act. The obedience to the command of that. And that's what made Iblis kafir is the obedience, the disobedience. As Abba was takbar, he rejected them. Blew himself out of proportion. Made himself a divine being beside Allah. Because when Allah gives a command, nobody has the liberty or the right to say no. Absolutely not. There's no way. Rationally impossible to say no. There's no argument whatsoever. Iblis' arguments are completely faulty. When some scholar tried, for example, like Ibn Qayyim made a blunder responding to Iblis, showing that Adam is superior to Iblis. I don't care if Adam is superior to Iblis or Iblis superior to Adam. That's not the issue there at all. It's actually falling in Iblis' trap who say, I'm better than him. And that's when Allah didn't answer him. So say, it is not befitting for you here to be arrogant in heaven, to takabbar here. To takabbar here means rejecting the command. Not takabbar over Adam. This is not an issue. It's a secondary issue. You may be better than Adam, but am I not better than you? Infinite many times, and I give you the command. Why don't you obey my command then? And who said that the superior cannot make respect to the inferior? It's perfectly fine. Who said that you may be an elder and respect to it, but you respect someone who is junior to you? There's no problem with that. It's no problem, sir. But that's not the issue really. The real issue is that how do you dare rejecting Allah's command? That's the fundamental issue. The angels, when they made sujood, they were doing ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and respect to Adam. Yes, fine. This is the token with which they showed that they are abid by the obedience to that command. Let's assume all of them dance around Adam like the Red Indian, make a dance. Did they have the liberty to say, no, we have to go to dance? No. It will become an ibadah for them. It's not the act itself. Don't be fooled by thinking. And that will solve many problems with these fiqh issues between Muslims and otherwise. When they dispute about, this guy is praying this way, praying this way. He believes this is the correct way. For him is ibadah because he's obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You believing the other way is the correct way, you are obedient to Allah. Both of you are abid. That's what counts. That you differ what's the type of ibadah, what's the form of it, is of small significance. Actually, almost no significance. Of no great importance whatsoever. Completely irrelevant. If you look at in the depth of it. Did that one comply because he wanted to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he's a abid and he's a Muslim. The other one complied with something, is believing that's what Allah wants and he's doing it to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a abid and a Muslim. That's what counts. That they differ in the appearance is not a problem. There's no problem to be behind an imam who, for example, believes that sleeping does not break his wudu, like Anas ibn Malik and many Sahaba. They did not believe sleep break the wudu. So if one of them stands from sleeping and lead the salah, what do you think you will be positioned not to pray behind them? You pray behind them. Your salah is valid and your salah is valid. You made wudu, waited to take wudu. No problem. What's the problem? Did he say, I'm not making wudu to disobey Allah deliberately and make the salah invalid? No. He believes he can do it and it's correct. His salah is correct and his imamah is correct and you are following who is correct and your salah is correct. It's no problem. Absolutely no problem. Only really people of small mentality will get stuck with that, like many of these muqallideen and these madhabi, they get stuck with that and keep grinding the rest of their lives. It's not worth even discussing it in half a minute. Absolutely nothing to do. The Sahaba never have any problem with that. Whoever the regular imam who is the older in age, who is the better Quran reader, he will lead the salah, independent of his madhab or tahara. That's it. And the those will follow him with a pure heart without any problem, without any issue. Because they know he is obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his own way, according to his ijtihad, and obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and was never any real dispute there, of any relevance, or any consideration between them. It came only later when people started degenerating in their mentality and started misunderstanding the meaning of ibadah, thinking ibadah is just bowing the back or lifting the head. It's not ibadah. Ibadah is the biggest thing. So إياك نعبد means to you submit, to you we submit. We obey you unconditionally without any qualification. Absolutely. Because the obedience to Allah is absolute. There is no limitation. Ibrahim saw that he slaughtered his son in the dream, his only son, which is evidently Ismail, then because Ishaq was not there. So even the Old Testament say, that's not our issue to refute the Jews that it's Ishaq, which is a clear fabrication. How can he? And the only solution they have said that Ismail is not a legitimate son. Come on, people, kind of a joke that. So Ibrahim became then a fornicator and the son of illegitimate children. No, these people are jokers. So not this our issue. Our issue is going back to the point. He saw that, he understood that's a divine command. And there was no escape. He has to comply. And he gave his son the opportunity even maybe to rebel or run away. And he's out of the responsibility. Well, his son was obviously grown up, mumayyiz, maybe already out of age. Allah A'lam. For him, I have seen that in vision. And you know, I'm a prophet, I have to comply with the order. What do you think? Understand it? Do what you are commanded to do. I will try my best, inshallah, I will be one of the sabirin. You could have said, no, I'm not accepting, I'm running away. But the son has also the great virtue to submit to Allah in this one. Independent who is the son. We're not going to get involved between Ismail and Ishaq dispute. Whatever the son was, maybe another one of these two. We know it's Ismail. Because the Old Testament says, your firstborn son. This is the firstborn son, for God's sake. Who could it be otherwise? But both complied. If you would not have complied, you would not have been an imam of humanity, a leadership, taking the leadership position. And Ismail would not have been, or his son, his firstborn, would not have been the high-ranking, virtuous prophet he became. but only by compliance. And then Allah interfered in the last month, abrogated it and substituted slaughtering a sheep. You substitute that. Or does Allah need to substitute a sheep for it? No. God said, no, stop. Order abrogated, finish. But he substituted the sheep to establish a good tradition which will feed the people of Makkah until Yawm al-Qiyamah with nice meat for some good time to come. Maybe, Allah knows why he did that. But that's the way it works. That's what they were ordered to do. If Ibrahim continued and slaughtered himself, that he would have been a criminal. Yeah? So Allah's command is absolute. Nobody can object to Allah's command. That's right. Absolutely. That's إياك نعبد. To you we submit. Then they ask help. وإياك نستعين. Meaning, we are limited, we are finite beings. Our ability is limited. You give us intelligence, but our intelligence is finite, so it can make mistakes, it can be confused. The devil can play with us, can show us, twist us the reality in our, defocus our mind. All of these pitfalls are there. That's in the mind. And those in the will, we may see something to be right, but we don't have enough will to enforce it because it contradicts some basic desires, some addictions. You may know very well that drugs are bad, but you get addicted to them, so you have to go through a long fight. You know that, for example, extramarital relations are haram and evil, and opposed to Allah, but also have negative and other human and social aspects. But you cannot overcome your desires. All of that needs help, needs strength. And this your strength is finite and limited. Who has infinite strength and support? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And from you we ask help. From you only we ask help. And when Allah hears that, He responds to say, this is between me and my slave. The first part is for me, that he submits to me. And the second part, when the slave is asking, and for my slave is what he asked for, I will help him. Then you ask for Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Then you continue that. Then Allah comments, this is for my slave and my slaves. The first part is for Allah alone. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu. That's purely for Allah. 3, pure, starting with pure praise, exaltation, and glorification. Then declaration of submission, declaration of faith. So you see, the praise comes first, then the declaration of faith comes next. In this context, then showing need and poverty and real slavery by asking help. I am in need. I am the finite, the limited, the low one. You are the supreme, the ultimate, the capable one. Help me. Yeah. إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Then you continue asking for my help. So you ask for general help in everything. This إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, not only towards completion, the declaration of faith in the first of this, in the first instance, نَسْتَعِينَكَ in ibadah. We ask your help that we submit properly, because whatever we do in submission, it will be never to the perfection it should be, which Allah deserves to be submitted to. Yeah? But you would like to achieve that level. In principle, you would like to achieve that level. So you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you in achieving that, but ask you to help you in everything, not only in that. Now, ista'in in your lively needs, in the daily bread. It's included in that. Ista'in in combating hostile and belligerent forces attacking you, either militarily or attacking your livelihood or attacking you financially, trying to squeeze you off the markets, if you're in the markets. All of these attacks are coming from all kinds of humans and other, even jinns and devils are trying to attack you and undermine your self-confidence, fill your mind with wasawis, divert your mind for attention to all of that needs help. Isti'ana. So you are asking for help in all of these aspects, one by one, and continuously, without specifying anyone. General isti'ana, not just for the daily bread. Then you continue asking, besides the isti'ana for this, but the isti'ana for this is not only to be submissive for Allah, as He deserves. Allah is deserving of submission, even if there is no Yawm al-Qiyamah. If you are fair, a human being which is fair and self-respecting and knows his limit and knows Allah's grandeur and glory, should submit to Allah and praise Him, even if there is no Yawm al-Qiyamah and no ba'ath and no just pure respect. How come that such a being with infinite power, infinite beauty, infinite perfection is not deserving of respect and and toleration. Even if there is no damages, there is no punishment and reward. Just pure of enjoyment, of submission and respect for the one who is worthy. Admiration of the beauty which is unlimited. So this is the isti'ana generally. But also, actually the issue is even more than that. There's still a life to come, and there's either eternal happiness or eternal disgrace. So we'd like to end with the eternal happiness, to have the eternal happiness, which is perfectly legitimate. Because it's the eternal pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the eternal love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you need also help in staying on the right path, as we discussed earlier, leading to that destination. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. And then there is a side mentioning, now a side issue, mentioning that this Sirat al-Mustaqim is the one which is different than two previous major nations which have had the right Sirat al-Mustaqim, but they either deviate deliberately from it out of greed and love to dunya, or they went off because of confusion and lack of proper knowledge. Two types of people who went off the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. The Sirat al-Mustaqim is the way of those Allah has bestowed His grace and benevolence on them. Sirat al-Ladina an'amta alayhim. Those upon whom you have bestowed your grace. And there are plenty of them in all previous nations, because this dua has come to us 1400 years ago. At that time it was fresh when it came. The first day it came, obviously it was jubilant for the people who received it. But it is no less jubilant today. And there were nations before, and there were many who have been graced by Allah, benevolence and grace on them. And they were on the right path, because the utmost important grace you could receive from Allah is to be on the right path, ending in the eternal happiness. Because anything ending in eternal condemnation and fire is the utmost disgrace, the utmost failure, definitely. So that's the biggest gain you can gain and the biggest loss you can lose. So those who Allah bestowed in His real grace is the one who ended in the right path, ending in the eternal, in Allah's pleasure, or in eternal happiness, or in paradise, or with Allah's forgiveness, all that's equal. All of these terms are equal to each other in some, by necessity. You can prove this one leads to this one to this, etc., etc. Like the mathematician prove A leads to B, B to C, and then C to A. Close the circle. So that's the path of those Allah bestowed grace on them from the previous nations. And for us now, from our own nation, many have enjoyed the grace of Allah and stayed in the right path, of scholars, of birthers, of even simple people, farmers, business people, many. There's not only scholars, not only philosophers and big thinkers, even simple business people, even simple farmers. Many of them were in Allah's grace. They lived a simple life, nobody knows about them, but they were on the right path, they did their duty, their life was happy even in dunya, and their life will be happy in akhirah. We may not know them, but they were in the right path. We want that part of these kind of people. And previous nations, plenty, like from Bani Israel, Allah said about somebody say, وَجَعَلَ مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. From the Bani Israel, we elected imams, leaders who guide with our own guidance, who lead with our own guidance. Why? لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِهِمْ. Because they were perseverance, they were patient, they were holding despite of all the handicaps and the difficulties, and they were firmly believing in our science and our revelation. That's all that you need. Firm belief and sabr, endurance. Because the diverting attacks of the dunya and the devil are plenty of all types. And you have to avert them, you have to confront them and fight them. All types of divergent attacks. Not only in the battlefield sometimes, because that's rare. Mostly it is in ba'sa wa dharra wa sarra. Either richness and dunya is open to you until it blinds you, get you off the right path, or hardship and poverty until you are completely busy just surviving and earning your bread and start earning from anywhere it comes. Just forget about the whole injunction haram and halal. These are fitna, both fitness, both testing by poverty, testing by richness, but testing in the battlefield, which is a bit rare, luckily, but it's all of test. And sometimes those two other tests are even worse than testing in the battlefield. Because in the battlefield with guns and bullets flying, after some time you got used and then you just involved in the fighting and focus, and you have fighter around you. This gives you more courage and energy, much more courage and energy than you think. But fighting the fitna and the missiles came from rich, then you are alone. After the people around you, sycophants will encourage you. You will have friends around you encourage you to party and have nice women and enjoy yourself and forget about it. Don't be complicated. Enjoy your life. Life is just like a cup and a woman and so on. All support is there to get you off the way. And in the case of poverty, your wife is you are a failure. You are not having anything to eat, and you're talking about haram and halal. Forget about it. Get us something to eat. And this one is saying that, and your father is saying that. You know how it is, right? You know how it works usually. So in the battlefield, you are even better off. Looks like deadly, but it's actually much easier off. I heard someone told me, struggling against rulers is much worse than in the battlefield. Because I praised him, he was in Afghanistan in the earlier years. Said, Sheikh, I was there. After a few days, maybe at the beginning you are scared from the whizzing of the bullets, but after some time you have people fighting with you, you feel like a community, you don't feel it. Everyone encourages the other one, but here you are alone. The moment the government attacks you, everyone runs away from you and you're alone. And becomes the Secret Service, you're in the prison. And then you know what it means to be intimidated and to be undermined, and your confidence and strength is gone. So don't think it's the fitna is only the battlefield. That's why you have to be perseverant. To persevere both in sarra and dharra. So these are the which Allah bestowed His grace on them, is the one who persevere and have iman. And they are interconnected, because why to persevere if you don't have iman? Give up if you don't have iman. What's the usefulness of persevere without having iman and conviction? These are the Allah bestowed together. Not the part of those غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Not the part of those who have contracted Allah's wrath on them, nor the misguided or the ضالين. And the classical explanation, which is obviously now politically incorrect, because many people do not like it, and even they start removing it from tafsir, because the classical definition of those who have been contracted Allah's wrath are the Jews. Now they don't, of course, that out of the tafsir, because the Zionists will be unhappy and you will be accused of glorifying terrorism. But the Jews are a prime example of that, because many of their deviations, especially the deviations especially of the scholars and the rulers, not the common people. All the deviations come normally from scholars and rulers. And the common people, most of them like donkeys, follow the leaders. That's the standard. It came because they deliberately went off the right path. They decided we will not stick to the right path. It's just too demanding. It's too clumsy, it's too difficult. Just abolish it. Then do as you please. Enforce your power. Prosecute the prophets, execute them, and just have the headache out of the way. That's what the rulers and scholars of Bani Israel did. Up to the time of Isa. Who conspired to crucify Isa? We know he was not crucified, but apparently someone was crucified. Who did? The scholars, the Sanhedrin, the Jewish scholars. They were the one who went to the Roman governor. Yeah, the Roman governor is not guilty, like it's tried to be. The New Testament make him look a little bit better than himself, maybe, because he is an oppressive tyrant, definitely. But still, what he cares about someone calling for monotheism? He cares only about the empire and the taxes. The taxes being collected, and the military garnisons are in control, so he doesn't care very much about that. He didn't want to get paid that anymore, but they force him to. Oh, this man is rebellious, he will move the people against the empire, then he must act, otherwise Rome will be angry with him. So they pushed the man, actually. The one who instigated and did the main plotting are the Jewish leaders to get rid of this troublesome man until they got him crucified, or someone similar to him crucified. We can say they got him crucified because they believe they crucified him. And they say, we crucified the Messiah, the messenger of God, mockingly. So they're praising themselves for this evil act. They don't bother about that his message is correct or incorrect. It's just endangering our positions and weakening our control of the public. Get rid of him. So he is the one who contracted Allah's wrath. This is the prime example in history, but there are many. In Muslims, plenty of scholars and rulers are like that, or even worse. From al-Hajjaj onward and backward and forward. The other type of the people who are sincerely wanted to please Allah Ta'ala, but they went astray by misunderstanding or overpraising over a man and honoring him over his level until he became half divine. So they like the Christian. The Christians are generally, especially the early ones, were genuinely devoted. They don't want to displease Allah Ta'ala, they wanted to comply. But they went overboard in honoring and respecting Isa alayhi salam, with the result that they made him half divine, and they went off the right way. And they started inventing celibacy, inventing this to become closer to Allah. With the intention, the Quran says clearly, they invented rahbaniyya, celibacy and monasteries and so on, with no reason except to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But after they invented it, because it's an invention, not sanctioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not suitable to human nature, and it's excessive, most of them were able to comply. And that's the reason many of these monasteries, if you dig under the floor, you find so many babies who are born illegitimately being buried there and so on, because the people need sexual fulfillment. And what do these priests do? They exercise it with the nuns. And then whatever pregnancy comes there, to cover the crime, it's covered by another crime, by killing the babies and burying them. Crime on crime. How did it started? Because they wanted to please Allah Ta'ala by being celibate. But they were unable to comply because it's unnatural. But originally it was out of devotion, not out of the just love for power and dunya, like the Jewish scholar. No, it was love for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and devotion to please Allah Ta'ala, but the wrong way, by going overboard, by extremism in religion, by inventing religion which Allah did not enact, mercifully did not enact, because He could have enacted that and put you in hardship. Allah could have had the right to do, but He did not do, out of mercy. Then He got Himself in the corner because they wanted to be closer to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, not because they wanted to wealth or dunya. No, they were not wanting wealth and dunya, the one who started that. Later on, some people came like that. So this is a prime example. So nobody need to be ashamed to tell them that what has happened historically. And we have of this category plenty of Muslims like Sufi, common simple-minded idiots under the Muslims who have all kinds of, act for themselves, all kinds of restrictions Allah did not make on them, thinking they are pleasing Allah Ta'ala. The only thing is that they make their lives so miserable and corner themselves that their own children start rebelling and becoming alienated from Islam, because the parents were so strict in an improper way that the children goes off tangent. This is not Bali from our time. So we have also our fair share of Bali and our fair share of Maghdub alayhim. But the prime nations as a whole nations in history, the Jews are more characterized by Maghdub alayhim, and many of them are Bali, obviously. And the Christians are characterized more that they are Bali, because they were more devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they made a mistake by over-devotion. But quite a number of them also Maghdub alayhim. This is only the main characteristic. And for Muslims, they have both. We have this and this also. So there's nothing to be ashamed or politically correct or incorrect, because this is how it happened. But certain nations are more in one direction, and other nations are more in one direction. So that's the right path we are asking Allah to give it, the right that Allah bestowed His grace. That's the balanced, reasonable, easy, simple, and straightforward path. No extremism, no exaggeration, but no negligence and complacency. Being worried, content, and watchful of Allah's commandments, and not going overboard and going to extremism and inventing things which will make out of devotion to Allah, will get you out of the way in misguidance. Nor deliberately neglecting Allah's commandments and just getting busy with dunya and power, like Iblis started, and the leaders of the Jews and mostly Muslim rulers are of this category, and many of their scholars. While the way of the Dalim is mostly the way of Abid and Sufi and practicing people and simple people. But we have all these types are here and there. And the right path is the path which will keep you straight on, which is usually the way which is simple, easy, and tolerant and reasonable. All these other ways are based on unreasonability or deviation or intolerance or extremism. So you see here, compare that to the Lord Prayer, give us our daily bread and forgive us our sins that we like to forgive. It's no comparison. And the second dua is nice. I'm not saying it's bad to ask Allah for the daily bread. No, it is not bad. And also it is not nice to, when you address Allah as if you are doing Him a favor, say, forgive us as we forgive those who wrong against us. What is this kind of that? It's like, we make a deal with you. Forgive everyone, but forgive us in return. That's not nice. You forgive us all sins. Even if we are have the shortcoming with forgiving others, but still forgive. And if we don't forgive the others, and this is the wrong way, it is a sin, we are asking you for forgiveness for that too. So that's, and it's more positive, it's asking to guide in the right way. You are not here admitting that you are needing of help, but you are not admitting any sins, you are not assuming that you are sinful. You are definitely sinful. You are asking forgiveness, but you are asking positive, not just forgiveness, asking guidance, to be more guided, to be more in the straight path, which is meaning The first step of guidance is the repentance. So it's more comprehensive. So if you compare it in every respect to the Lord's Prayer, and also the address to Allah there, our Father in heaven, this is a nice address, not bad address. Allah is a Father in heaven, but address him as the Lord of the universe, the merciful, the King of the Day of Judgment. Put him in the right place where he belongs. He's not only like a kind father, he's also the one who controls the universe, and he will account Yawm al-Qiyamah. It keeps Yawm al-Qiyamah in your mind, and keep that you are dealing not only with a kind father, Rahman al-Rahim, you are dealing also with a powerful king. Everything should be put in the right place. Because if you think it's only a kind father, you may take liberties in going off tangent. And we know that from Christians, they tend to go off tangent. Oh, it's a kind father. God is love, forget about that thing, swallowed down. You know that. You see it from the way they live their life. They tend to be very loose, the majority of them, because of this. Only few who keep everything in mind, but the daily prayer, if it doesn't remind you, you don't get in the state of mind. Well, I say the average Muslims are more committed than the average Christian, because the Fatiha, the other things that keep always Allah is Ghafur Rahim, but Shadidul Iqab. Forgiving and merciful, but He's also severe in punishment. All are kept most of the time reasonably balanced. While the Lord's Prayer does not give you this balance, it's more to the kind side only. And this is not good for human being and human psychology. And not good in understanding the universe. Understanding they have problems understanding tsunamis and catastrophes of nature, because the excessive relation with Allah has been only love and being only kind Father. Who is He indefinitely, no doubt about that. But He's also the owner of the whole universe, which has to be balanced from here to billions of light years away. And this balance dictates that will be tsunamis, and the tsunamis will be millions will be dying. And the universe cannot be changed because millions will die. That's the way it works. Has nothing to do with being vicious or being a tyrant. No. This is a huge universe with a very, very complex system of causes and effects, and they will have to work. And in this universe, Allah is behind the veil. If He will step in and prevent all these calamities, He can, then the veil is gone. And then Iman is not an act of choice, it's an act of compulsion. And there's no reward for it. Yeah? If Allah will show Himself in heaven and everyone see Him, nobody will remain a disbeliever. And your belief will be not an act of choice, but Iman should be an act of choice. So you are rewarded Yawm al-Qiyamah. The whole universe will be different than the one we have now. It will be another universe altogether. That's not what Allah decided. It's a fundamental qadar, as we discussed in Tawheed. Fundamental decision will be like that, and the second will be in another universe. Separating two universes or two worlds. This world and the one to come for settlement. If it had been only one, it would have been a paradise. To start with, by necessity. It cannot be a hellfire to start with without any reason for punishing the people. But that's not Allah. Allah did not decide it will be like that. And that's it works. So, knowing that and appreciating it, you need a Fatiha, you need a dua, a prayer, continuous prayer, which reminds you of these aspects in a reasonable way so they're kept in your mind. The Lord's Prayer does not remind you there. It gives you only the kind side. And that's not enough. Will not be tuned you for the harsh reality of the world, which is full of problems and full of testing, in a proper way.
Just one question, Sheikh.
I think we'll start. So that's roughly in one session Fatiha.
I've heard it, I don't know if it's true, that Surat-ul-Faatiha was brought down by Jibreel twice, once with Amin, once without Amin. Also, is Amin compulsory to be stated, and is it part of the surah?
No, Amin is not a part of the surah, not part of the surah. Amin is just, it's I think an old, even old Semitic word, meaning we
comply.
We confirm or we participate in the dua. If someone makes dua and say Amin, say we are agreeing with this dua and we are doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
So and also this with coming down, Allah Alam of that side. I think it's questionable narration. Because there's so many in Tafsir and Asbab al-Nuzul, there are many questionable narration because the Quran is well established beyond doubt. So many scholars in matter of Tafsir and Asbab al-Nuzul, the reasons of revelation, took quite a liberty. And they take weak isnads and all kinds of weak narrations. And they mostly end with some Sahabi or Tabi, not with the Prophet. Even if they end with a Sahabi with a good isnad, it's just his point of view, at best. So there's plenty of ijtihad there, which is What I heard is maybe that Al-Fatiha has come once in Mecca and again in Medina to reinforce. But this is not only. Many ayahs has come several times in that sense, addressing certain issues. So this is not a speciality of the Fatiha.
Surah Al-Fatiha, I've been told that it's the one of the very first surahs to be revealed in total.
It's in early Mecca. Yeah.
In its all 7 ayat.
It came in one piece. Yeah.
Now, under what circumstances did that come? What's Asbab al-Nuzul for the surah?
I'm not aware about anything like that. Okay. Most likely very early to give the people a fundamental dua which should be suitable for Salah. So it should have been, I think, before the Salah has been made obligatory. There was a Salah, obviously, which is not obligatory, which was optional, until it was in Laylat al-Isra and Mi'raj. Made that obligatory, the 5 Salahs. You know the Hadith of Isra and Mi'raj. But before that, there were other Salat, not these 5 ones and so on, before they took that shape. And the Fatiha was done really from the beginning, the master surah to be read in every Salah. It's short enough, simple, easy for everyone to memorize. And what they did for that purpose, because it's phrased as a dua, as a praise and a dua, so that it can be read like the Lord's Prayer, a proper substitute. But it's in early Makkah, but it's not. There's no. Well, I can check Tabari if there's any valid and strong and reliable narrations in that.
You know, you said the Fatiha it's like the core of the prayer itself.
Yeah.
At what part, if someone joins the prayer, is it when Fatiha finishes, or
no,
when he goes for ruku'?
Following the Imam, if you catch the ruku', then you have caught the whole rak'ah.
Okay,
then
so it's not the Fatiha.
Yeah, but the Imam has read the Fatiha, so because the other hadith, the reading of the Imam is the reading for the Ma'mumin.
Okay.
Then if you are following the Imam, then you are catching, they have this rukhsa that you missed the Fatiha. Now the question, if it is the only question, if it is Salah Jahriya, listening to the Fatiha, the reading of the Imam is definitely your reading because you are listening to it. The question, if it is Salah Sirriya, if it is secret reading like Dhuhr and Asr, it's the only one Sirriya, then the question is that, should the Ma'mum read or should he remain silent? Now, most scholars said the reading of the Imam is reading for you. It's obviously conditioned that you hear what he reads, so you are benefiting from it. And if he doesn't, if you don't hear him reading, that's in Dhuhr and Asr, then you ought to read at least Fatiha. The Hanafi point of view is different, and that's the reason many Hanafi follow like in Afghanistan and the East. They complain that their mind scatters in Salah because while they're standing behind the Imam, they're not reading anything. Although I think many are starting reading Fatiha now, it has become like common. But in time past, it was the madhab is not to read. So you stand there not reading anything and you're not hearing anything, and then your mind starts floating away, which is really quite disturbing. So I think it's from all these aspects, I think it's if you don't hear the reading, then you can read, but you have to read it really. So even just barely moving in the lips, because if you read it loudly, it will be disturbing for the Musallin and maybe disturbing for the Imam. So I think the strongest point of view is that you have to read it unless a reading of the Imam which you hear will substitute for it properly. But this is a minor point of fiqh. As I said, this should be not a matter of dispute. But from practical point of view, if you look at practicality, if you're standing in Salah and not reading anything, then it will be really, your mind will be empty. Because you're supposed to be interacting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you are not doing any reading, you are not doing really any interaction. So the spirit of the Salah, which is Surah Al-Fatiha, because Allah said, I divided the Salah between me and my servant. So he called the Surah Al-Fatiha and he mentioned only Fatiha, meaning the real Salah is the Fatiha. So if you don't get that, the Imam reading, you are reading with him in your mind. Automatically, when you hear someone reciting, you are reciting with him in your mind. You are doing that. And Allah is responding to all of them in one go. That's fine. As a community, that's beautiful, no problem. But if you are not hearing anything and everyone is silent, nothing there, then it's very difficult to feel that you are really in Salah. So I think that combines the 2 points of view in a reasonable way. That here, the reading of the Imam is reading for the Musalli, provided the Musalli is hearing it and following it, because he is de facto reading in his mind without moving his lips or anything else. But otherwise it's not.
And is saying Ameen compulsory or?
No, but some in the Madhab al-Hanafi they say it not loudly. In all other madhahib, because there are quite a good number of narrations that they were saying it loudly. No, it's neither compulsory nor the loudness of compulsory. But it's also, if you see it, if you see the effect of it, the psychology of it is quite good. It gives you a feeling that everyone is joining together in prayer, and especially if they say it loudly, the masjid shakes of ta'meen. It gives you things like that. You can see by experience that they have a psychological good effect.
But if you don't say, is it haram?
No, I said, but it is. If you look at it, it's really you are missing something. Like for example, in Hajj, Talbiyah and so on. If you don't do it with loud voice, you don't feel really, because the people are going like a big demonstration, hundreds and thousands walking, and if the takbir is filling the air, the atmosphere is different than if someone is whispering it, for example. In Hajj specifically, for example, and Hajj is very loud. The sunnah is to be as loud as you can.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ? Because I think there's only one other verse in the Quran where it mentions that. I think Surah An-Nisa.
Yeah, الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ is the one who Allah has bestowed grace on them, and these are the one who are obviously the one who the prime example would be the one who has the conviction and the endurance, and the one who is because of that they are in the right path. The higher level of them, the one who lead others, like the leaders of Bani Israel. These are conditions for imamah, for leadership. And the condition for imamah are mentioned there. It is yaqeen, iman, conviction, and sabr, endurance. With these two, not plenty of knowledge, not plenty of detailed knowledge. This is not very important. That's not the thing. They make you maybe imam of qira'at or imam of hadith, but that don't be imam of deen. Or imam of guidance, because the Quran says, they guide with our command. So the one who guides with Allah's command is the one who has the conviction and the perseverance. Because Allah's command is not complicated. There are details of fiqh, that's no problem. We can go to the book and, we wash the face 3 times, it's no problem. That's not an issue. You don't need to have yaqeen in that. You have the basic yaqeen, you know where to find these simple questions. But the real issues, the real fundamental issues of iman and kufr, of commitment to Allah, of jihad, of allegiance, of hostility to the belligerent kafirs, all of these that need yaqeen and need perseverance, because they are very difficult to enforce in your life, when they go against your own and other people's desire, against government desires, against majority desires. Then the perseverance and the iman comes. And then the one who can lead come forward. But the one on the right path are the one who are complying with Allah's commandment. That's the right path. Probably out of conviction. And have the necessary endurance. And that's the reason we are asking for help. And asking for guidance. Because it needs help. It is not mechanical. It's not easy and not straightforward. It's not difficult. That it's not executable for everyone. It is not that difficult, but it needs perseverance. Sometimes at certain points there could be heavy tribulation and difficulties. And certain historical situation, like the beginning of a da'wah of a Nabi, then the oppression and the persecution is enormous. Later on, the religion is well established, life becomes easy. Then it degenerates, and then there will be a backlash, and then we need again to struggle again to bring things in the right way. And then there will be a high time that it goes down. This will never stay at the high level. There will be the degeneration, then you have to correct government as state and society. Then you will be facing the people's lethargy and hardship from the rulers and from the treasonous scholars. And then maybe you will be able to establish proper rule and proper social order, which is pleasing to Allah and making many people having an easy way to comply with the right path. Then after 2-3 generations, degenerates again. And it goes like that all the time, up and down in history. We have said that Islamic history and every other history. There will be certainly, depending upon which time you are living. You may be living in an easy time, then you are lucky. Sometimes you are living in a difficult time, then you are tested more. And few people will be able to be in the right path. In easier time, there will be more people. So to expand and shrink and so
on. Surat-ul-Mustaqim. It's another verse in the Quran which I think is Nabi Isa was explaining how to achieve it.
Yeah. when he said إن الله هو ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم. Allah is my Lord and your Lord, so worship Him, you submit to Him. This is the straight path. Yeah, submission to Allah is the straight path. Acknowledging that Allah is the Lord, meaning the owner and the commander, and because necessity of reasons, that's in His case because He's also the creator. That's the reason He created only and exclusively, no other participated with Him. He did not buy it from anybody else. Nobody created and said, go far away, I give you money and go. No. He did it by Himself completely. And by virtue of that, He's the absolute owner. And by virtue of that, who would then have the right to order the command except Him? He's the absolute commander. So recognize Him as that, He's the Lord and the Rabb and the Master. And absolute, if that says absolute surrender is the only reaction acceptable. If you do that, that understanding, then you are in the right path. That's the only right path. Any other path will be not the right path. What will be other paths? There are other gods, there is none. So it's a falsehood. So you are in the path of falsehood, which can lead nowhere except into an abyss or in a dead end. Goes nowhere. But if He's the only one who's created and so on, like the deist, He's the creator, but how come that He's the one created suddenly then He retired and He is not a commander anymore? This contradicts the necessity of logic. So why did He create in the first place? For fun? Bring you evidence that's for fun. You had absolute evidence that's only for fun, and He said to him, then He must tell you, I created you for fun, now you do whatever you want, I'm going elsewhere to have fun elsewhere. If He said that, and you have absolute evidence for that, then you may be right, but you don't have luck. So you're assuming something which necessity of reason dictates that is very remote, or at least it's 50-50. So what's your evidence for that? So the deist, they say, yeah, there's so many overwhelming evidence that Allah, that the deity exists, because the universe cannot come out of nothing like this haphazardly. This is too much contradicting physical and rational evidences. So there is a creator. But is He a commander? Are they prophets? Are they law? Say, no, we're not going to accept that yet. Question, okay, you are not going to accept that yet because you don't have evidence. That's maybe acceptable. But you cannot say this is impossible by itself without evidence. So 50-50. Let us see if there is anyone claiming to be a prophet, and let us scrutinize them. They say, no need for that. So they made already a judgment without evidence. That's their problem. They call them deist, not theist. Theist, that's the God who commands and so on, like Muslims and Jews and Christians. Deist, there's a creator, but that's all. Just to escape the problem that it's impossible to imagine the universe coming in existence without a creator. That's just to solve the creation problem. But it doesn't solve the problem. It opens another problem which has to be settled. And they settle it in an arbitrary way without evidence. Because the claim that He created and just retired is a claim. It needs an evidence. It could be very well that He did not retire. So, 50-50. Now bring evidence for one and another. We say there are prophets who have come and have brought evidences in a clear way. Yeah? You see the point? But you don't have for evidence that He retired. How do you know that He's retired? Just arbitrarily claim. He could have very well not retired. Maybe He want to test you. And they selected you on Qiyamah. Maybe. So, prove the opposite. You have no proof. While the people who have the opposite, they have proofs and they have prophets. So let us sit and scrutinize these prophets and these messages. Are they liars? Did they bring any evidences? Is there a balance of evidence strengthening their position against your position? You will find the balance of evidence against them. But they don't, because it's uncomfortable. It's a headache. The moment you get there and you admit it, then you are in a headache. You have to deal with churches, you have to deal with religions, you have to analyze it. It's too much headache. Just forget about it. That's the way they are doing it. Not that they have real evidence. They're just an arbitrary claim. Because there is no necessity of reasoning dictating that Allah might have has desire. Nor any necessity dictating that He must be considered of the universe as a commander. He may decide, I don't want to command. It's just for fun. He may. There's no immediate proof that it's impossible, either one. So, let us see which one is the one which is really realized to be the case.
Let's go. Good question. Do you know that a lot of people from the subcontinent, they make a lot of dua using Fatiha, but there's a lot of barakah, shafa, whatever it may be in Fatiha.
Yeah. Also,
is that back with narrations or?
No, just a general hadith about Fatiha, using for ruqya, barakah of Fatiha, reading Fatiha in various occasions.
Because I was told of a narration where a woman, her son was unwell, and two Sahabi said to read Al-Fatiha, blow on their hands and rub it on the boy's face.
Yeah, we have.
This is a narration.
Oh, we have many narrations like that. We have one in Bukhari that when Arab chieftain was there, some Sahaba were passing in an Arab tribe, which is not hostile, but not friendly, and they asked them for because there were no hotels at the time, for being their guests for one night. And our tradition is that you give food and assistance for a night. They said, no, we don't want to give you any qira, any hospitality. And then so the Sahaba settled outside, put their campfire, and maybe they have something to eat. And then later in the day or the night, someone came from the tribe said, our chieftain has been bitten by a snake. And this is the name of the said, any one of you, because we hear you people of Muhammad there, you are people who are blessed. Any one of you who know any way to heal him or ruqyah? And they said, yes, but since you have been hostile to us, not hospitable, we have to charge you a fee for that. So they negotiated a flock of sheep. And then the Sahabi went, read Al-Fatiha on him, was blowing and touching and so on. And by dawnbreak, the chieftain was completely healed. So they took the flock and went to the Prophet and said, don't touch the flock until we check with the Messenger of Allah. Did you do the right thing or not, taking the flock? So when they came from the Messenger of Allah, I told him, this happened, say, how did you know that's a ruqyah? This is really a good reading which will heal the sick. Give me a share of your... So he approved the act and he said, give me a share of it. Give me a share of your flock. So they were satisfied that the fee is legitimate, the negotiation was legitimate, and they said, how did you know that's a ruqyah? So I just relied on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knew that it's a blessed surah, it's a barakah. And the man was as if he was dying, he stood up completely healed. So this is in Bukhari. So there's that. So from that the people conclude it's a very blessed, so it is good to read that Egypt is... My neighbor here in this immediate house used to be a Jew, grown up in Egypt. His name was David. He was 8 years old and he was walking as energetic as a young man. So I chatted with him one day and said, I thought that talk to me in Arabic, Egyptian dialect, but he was not very polished, so he talked mostly in English. And said, oh, you are our neighbor, maybe we should become friends. I said, I'm happy to be your friend. Are you serious? He said, he held my hand, said Al-Fatiha. He said, you, Egyptian, as if you agree to become a friend or do something together, said, let's read Fatiha. Said you. So well established in Egypt that even Jews and Christians will read the Fatiha on occasions. I'm so well established. So I think it's a good habit. There's nothing wrong in that. Because this surah is very blessed. There are many evidence that it's a ruqyah for healing, for various things. So obviously we'll see the Salafi, there's no evidence for that. This is part of their obsessed mind. This is part of the ghulu. That's part of being extreme in religion. Because the people claim they believe in qiyas and analogy. So make qiyas. If the Sahabi here did use it as a ruqyah and it worked very nicely, it may work to bring barakah in a certain situation. And you are not reading something which is containing, you are reading one of the best surah of the Quran, one of the most blessed. So invoking the blessing this way is not a problem.
You can edit?
And it contains one of the best dua in itself, as we have seen, and also quite a considerable praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very nice meaning, and there's no problem to read it in all good occasions because of its barakah. Although Sufis say it has secrets and so on, Allahu A'lam. Maybe if you are spiritual enough, maybe you see secrets which I don't see. I'm not excluding that.
This is just outside Surat-ul-Faatiha. We have a brother that's in Australia who wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
His question was, what's the Islamic position on what the right hand possesses regarding concubines and slavery? Is it still relevant and applicable? And if it is applicable, isn't that concept of right hand possesses a loophole out of the limitation of 4 wives? Can a king have hundreds of concubines and servants that he can sleep with?
It's not a loophole because they are not wives, but it's still valid. It is the woman and the children who are taking spoils of war in a legitimate war. Obviously, there have been agreements since a few centuries between warring parties to apply certain conventions like the Geneva Conventions, etc. But it's clear that these conventions the agreement have been violated, has been not been efficient and respected. Especially America is the one of the signatories has violated that. So since these treaties, which are supposed to be substituting for the old agreements of war, because that was the old system of war in time international law. If that's not efficient, then you can't go back to that. So that was the source for it originally. There was another source in history by stealing people and so on, which is basically haram, strictly haram, but it was have been covered up by various kinds of tricks, because everything can be abused. And especially in that, some intelligent traders will go snatch people from outside the domain of Islam and claiming they were prisoners of war because they come from a domain which is not an Islamic domain. But it may be not at war that time. They were not in a legitimate campaign. So they weren't even snatching even Muslim children and doing the same from inside the Islamic domain. So that all the abuse has been, and that has been producing some sources of slavery. But if it is done in a legitimate way, then there's no problem. And in that case, not necessarily kings, maybe a rich man can have more concubines or less. And there have been in history cases, I'm not aware of 100 who will manage 100, but there were cases where people have several, besides 4 wives. And there are cases which have only concubines, no wives, because wives are more headache. When we have the opposite, all of these things we have had. It's not a loophole, it's an option which is available. The Prophet has had one of those, and he offered her to free her and become his wife, and she said, no, I prefer to stay a slave because it's less obligation than a wife. For the wife of the Prophet was under hijab and under very restricted covenants, she did not need to comply with any of that. It's Rayhana.
Rayhana from the daughter of the Jewish.
Yes, Jewish. While Safiya was freed and became a wife with full obligations and virtues of a wife. Rayhana did not. And she said, but offer this, she said, no. It's easier for you and for me. You don't need to divide nights, you don't need to have a new household. I'm happy this way. And for me, I'm not strong enough to have all these obligations, have the full veil and all these things which the wives have. So they agree on that.
Do they receive the same, well, not the same, but similar rights? Do they have any rights, these concubines?
Which rights? Because no, they don't have the right for a specific night or something like that, no.
But they can have their own house if they want to? Or?
Oh yeah, usually they would, many of them, especially if they are nice and attractive, but usually they are more than the regular wives because they know their position is weak, that makes them stronger. They can have it. Yeah.
But are they financially supported by?
Oh yeah, they are owned. Completely.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is the owned, it's your slave. You are responsible for feeding and clothing and everything more than a wife. Even more. Completely.
Strange concept.
Yeah. No, it was recently. It was abolished only recently. Still it's available in Africa and so on. Beside the international law. No, it was until recently. But it was not like the European slavery. No, it was not like that. The European and the one in America and so on, no, it was quite vicious and very bloody. No. It is giving them the full rights. You have to take care of them in full, and the position is that you have to take care the same way you take care of yourself, the same food you eat, the same dress you dress, and so on. This is no beating in the face specifically. Easier treatment in many other aspects of punishment, for example, in case of adultery and so on.
Second question, Doctor, is regarding the hijab. Is there evidence in the Quran regarding the hijab, or is it just hadith?
Oh yeah, you mean the hijab, the Islamic dress, because the word hijab is used wrongly. Hijab is only for the wife of the Prophet, that's in Surah Al-Ahzab. And then the Islamic dress consists of khimar and jilbab. Yes, the jilbab is in Surah Al-Ahzab at the end. النبي يقول لأزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن ذلك أدنى يعرفن فلا يؤذين كان الله غفورا رحيما. For messenger, tell your wives, your daughters, the believing women, to put their jilbabs. This is better that they cannot be abused and so on. And Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. That's obviously before the hijab of the prophets, because after the ayat al-hijab, there was even more than the jilbab for them. So that's earlier, before. Then, later on, in Surah Al-Nur, the ayah of غض البصر كل المؤمنين يغضوا من أبصارهم ويحفظوا ذلك أزكى لهم, for the believer, and for the believing women كل المؤمنات يغضوا من أبصارهم, same thing. Tell the believing women to lower their gaze and protect their chastity, that's pure for them, etc. And then in addition, وأن يضربن بخمرهن على جيوبهن, they should have their khimar, the head cover, covering their décolleté, their jail, and nobody should their zina, their zina means their clothing, because the word zina in Quran is usually used the meaning of clothing, not the jihad. So nobody should say their normal clothing, except the husband, father, etc., etc. So the others can see their jilbab. So the jilbab covering the internal clothing. The internal clothing should be, which is not a jilbab, can be seen only by these. So they should not go out except by their jilbab. And even in the house, if they meet someone who is not of these maharim, in jilbab, and khimar. Exclusion of that is in the house for the women who are beyond the age of nikah, of marriage. Older women, in their houses, they don't obliged to use jilbab or khimar when meeting non-mahram men, but in the house.
Only in the house.
غير متبرجات. تبرج meaning, the word tabarruj has been misunderstood by many. Tabarruj meaning going out. Baraja or baraza is the same meaning, so they should not go out with their dress. Out they have the jilbab. In the house, it's an easement for them because they are beyond the age of marriage, maritable age, are not interested in marriage anymore. Then they can meet without khimar. They can meet in the long dress covering the aura, but no need for the jilbab.
Is the jilbab defined as in what kind of dress it is?
Jilbab is anything fluffy which doesn't show the shape of the body.
Okay.
For example, abaya, for example, an overcoat. It will not be a jilbab if it shows the body form. So jilbab will be, the minimum of jilbab will be something coming from the shoulder going down, widening at the chest. But after widening the chest, it stays the same width. Does not shrink. The moment it shrinks, it will show this body shape.
So
it remains, and maybe it becomes wider at the hips because most of the time hips are wider than the. So that way, so it doesn't touch the body. So it widens. So at the chest, it becomes wider than the circumference there. So it's fluffy there, and keeps the same width. If it's tightened, it will become dira' or fustan, what they call fustan or dress. Stay the same width or wider. Normally they do it like that. It widens at the chest and widens slowly until at the hips it becomes smooth like that all the way down. That will be a reasonable jilbab. That would be a very reasonable jilbab.
But niqab is not.
No, niqab is only for the wife. So they have the hijab.
But the woman can choose to.
Yeah. Yes, perfectly mubah. So it has been done by the Arabs and the Sahaba also.
So if a woman is 60, 70 years old, is she obliged for hijab in public?
Yeah, in public, yes.
Okay, fine.
This is the main غير مدبرجات. They should not go out with their normal clothing. So they should put the jilbab outside. In the house.
But the reference here, so I may have missed it, but the reference for the actual covering of the head, just showing the face, that is known as the khimar?
Khimar is the head cover, including the imam. The main imam is called also khimar. Khimar is the head cover.
Which surah is that?
Khimar is Surah Al-Nur.
Sorry, do you know which verse?
Nur.
Do you know the verse number?
No, you can check it quickly. So the one with the jilbab is at the end of the Ahzab, maybe the one in the fifth before the last, and the one in Nur. Yeah.
Can I use the toilet, please?
Yeah. Show me the one.
Sorry.
Because he's the only one who's using it.
He's the only one who's used the toilet.
So the one with the jilbab is the one of the khimar is in a Nur.
Josh, write this question down. Write this question down.
Which one?
What
I thought he was going to tell you.
So let me give you
Khimar.
Khimar.
Okay.
Surat-ul-Nur.
Okay. For jilbab.
Ahzab now.
Last
Last 5.
ayahs.
So if a woman is not dressed in
Ahzab.
a jilbab as described, is that her being sinful?
Yeah, because it's wajib. Here this ayah 59, يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك وبناتك. This is the Ahzab 59. And the Ahzab is itself number 33. Surah 33, Al-Ahzab, ayah 59. This is the jilbab. And before that, few ayahs before that, is the hijab of the wives of the Prophet, which is very, very detailed. And the Salafi take that evidence for hijab, but this is wrong. The ayahs are very specific, very clear from beginning to end. But some people, they are just brainwashed, and they are unable to see that it's very special for the wife of the Prophet. Now let's go to the Nur.
You're still recording this, yeah?
Were you about to say something that's not supposed to be recorded?
An-Nur, okay. Now with the Nur. An-Nur is surah number 24, yeah?
Surah 24.
And jilbab one, Surah Al-Faatiha.
خلاص we did.
That's 33, 59.
53.
Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 59.
We've got it
Okay,
written
you're
down.
right.
My turn. Thanks.
So for the
Send the email to me.
khimar, etc., and the غض البصر, lowering the gaze, is ayah 30, 31, 30 and 31. 30 is for the men, then 31 for the woman, and in addition then. Tell the believing woman here, and tell the believing woman to lower their gaze and protect their chastity or private from illegal issue, and not to show off their adornment except only in that which is apparent, and to draw their veils all over jubihinna.
Jubihinna is the chest, isn't it?
And he said their bodies, faces, necks, and bosom. This is a wrong translation. Jubihinna is this is the jib. This is the jib. They used to say it. Not this here. This thing. Nowadays they use it for the pocket here. At the time they have pockets here. Yeah, that used to be open. They could. That's the only place. So not over body, because the head cover will not be drawn. Where it will be drawn over the whole body. What is kind of head cover is that? The translator must be had drunk. No, this is because he's Salafi, so he's trying to put his madhab in the Quran. That doesn't work. Or they put it in parentheses, not the wording. And not to reveal their adornment except to their husbands or their fathers or their husbands' fathers or their sons or their husbands' sons or their brothers or their brothers' sons or their sisters' sons or their Muslim woman. He's put Muslim in parentheses, they call their woman. He's mistaken, it's called their woman, because we have a hadith that Jewish women were coming behind the hijab to Aisha. So this is when extremism someone becomes obsessed. He sees things upside down.
So you don't have to wear hijab for women.
No.
Okay.
Women or their slaves, if they put in part his female. This is wrong. It's male slaves also. The slaves, if you own a slave, he's also mahram, whom their right hand possesses, or old males servants who lacks vigor, who is impotent, so the old ones. Actually says tabi'in غير the men who has no sexual desires. It could be a young man who is impotent. There are men like that, and old men, and old men who are very potent. So it is the men who has no desires. Yeah. And they should not strike with their feet, so that it will be the sound of their adornment will be heard, like if they have what they call it.
High heeled.
Yeah. No. If they have khulkhalat, and then they used to strike with their feet, so you know that they have khulkhalat to attract attention, make a voice, and so on. So this is this ayah, but it's the khimar at the beginning, that the khimar should be turned onto the jape. Strike the khimar on the jape.
That the female cannot marry her male slave unless she frees him and then marry him. Yeah. Because he's mahram to. Is that the reason?
Yeah. So like the eunuchs in the Abbasi period, they Because they're completely impotent. The eunuchs, they have,
Yeah, they said the reason, not in the Abbas, it's actually the Uthmani period mostly. It was not, it's a Turkish institution mostly. Before that, they were barely. They were, but they were barely. They were not an institutionalized like in Uthmani time.
Well, so with those, there's no hijab in
I think so, yeah. The condition is that there's no sexual desire. Then there's no then it's like a mahram.
I just wanted to ask, the issue of Sayyida Aisha's age, because I've just been reading a thesis of somebody and they're saying that everyone's got their dates completely wrong. They're saying that she's more closer towards 15, 16 years old.
Could be. I would.
Because the dates are...
I don't see that as an issue. For me, it's a non-issue. Definitely, when they consummated, she was mature for that. Otherwise, it's not possible to consummate. That's that. Which age was it? Hadith with a 6 and 9, maybe wrong. Maybe it's 9 and 12. 12. Some girls by 12 they are very mature. Yeah. They made it issue. The Western people, what they call it, pedophilia and so on. And they make issues or non-issues. Until very recently, they were the marital age were in many places in the world 6 years and 9 years. Until very recently.
No, in Spain, the age of consent is 13, 12, 13. Yeah.
Recently, even now.
Even now, even in Spain now, it's age of 13 age of consent.
Yeah, but in America, it was up in the century before last, 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the United States.
But in Islam, it's when she starts bleeding.
In Islam, when she's
age
mature.
of puberty.
Yeah, which is mature. Before that, it was 11, but after that, it was abrogated, and it has to, because she has to give her consent, and the consent does not make any sense for someone who is not responsible. So she must be in the age of maturity. Salah is obligatory in her, that she can give consent and buy and sell and marry, and even with silence. So claim of the Shafi'i that because of that the father can force his young daughter of 2 or 3 years and marry her is a mistake, is a scholarly mistake. But you find it in Madhab Shafi'i. And so in Shafi'i areas they may get boys and girls married, and the girl is still in the diapers. Yeah, not in the diapers. The womb is still majhul, it's unknown. No, but after that, yeah. And the boy is still there, and they marry them and do ceremony and so on, because the father has sufficient authority for that, because they believed in the legitimacy. But the further ahadith and also further evidence to show that it has been abrogated later.